Well, after 3 days straight of showing you guys corn stuff, I think it's time to take a look at a doubleheader of Ogres versus Greenskins. Let's go here. Myself today. This is against Giamma. And we've got Goldbag himself and the THUNDERTUSK, the big single entity. Looked at some comparisons in a previous video. If you haven't seen that, be sure to check it out after this one. Brag the Gutsman makes his debut on this channel, though. He's a anti-large melee hero. Got his big old scythe chain thing. Yeah, anti-large armor piercing. He's got an execute ability, which is potentially quite strong. It does have only a one-time use and only works against characters, but activates at 20%, so potentially quite strong there. He's also got the dreaded aura that removes immune to psychology. And here, the great Gut Gouger is his weapon, I guess. That gives him terror and extra weapon strength and melee attack on activated, plus monstrous impact contact effect, which will heavily slow any units he attacks. Overall, very strong character. The Ogres actually notably don't have a ton of melee anti-large, to be honest. The Pigback Riders, of course, do shore up that a little bit from an infantry perspective, but from a single entity perspective, Bragg gives a nice option. There, we've got Lore of the Great Maw to shore things up, some of Goldbag's Man-Eaters, and some more Pigback Riders, single unit Trappers here, and then 4 Blood Vultures, or 3 Blood Vultures? Yeah, it looks like 3. For the skins here, the Green Tide coming in with Skarsnik. He's got Night Goblin Big Boss, River Troll Hag, 3 Manglers. I should note, since the last time I recorded a video, Manglers have been banned from the Creator Clash, which, by the way, I'm casting the Creator Clash this Sunday. It will be, I'll double check. I don't remember the time off the top of my head. I don't want to pause the replay to check right now. So I'll leave a link down in the description below. It's starting, I think, around like noon or so U.S. time on Sunday. Should be a good time. Going to be a domination tournament I'm casting in early access with Turin here. We've got some qualifiers that qualified in my special event thing last week. So anyway, we've got the Arachnarok Flinger, which is basically an Arachnarok with an artillery attack that does have a nice slow contact effect. Doesn't do an insane amount of damage, does good damage. It's not crazy, but of course it is an Arachnarok spider, so quite good in terms of melee stats. Here we've got some Orc Boy Spears as well, and yeah, looks like that's basically it. Makes a lot of sense, take a lot of anti-large, then the Manglers are just insanely strong. Let's see against the faction that they are definitely not designed against. I mean, they are explicitly an anti-infantry unit, although they do kill cavalry. Their explosion ability just does so much damage that they'll even kill cavalry and monstrous infantry in melee. But for now, Pigback Riders getting in there. Yeah, Bragg the Huntsman, or the Gutsman rather. Gonna charge on in with the Butcher and Goldbag. Gonna get into the Arachnarok Spider. Get a nice sandwich on these Goblins, the Noblar Knights. Piggyback charging on in, and just absolutely crushing this flank here. Meanwhile, the THUNDERTUSK hanging back for now, just using its own artillery attack. It and the Arachnarok Flinger are honestly very comparable. Both have kind of a slowing artillery attack, similar in terms of sort of stats in many ways, although the THUNDERTUSK anti-infantry in melee, and of course the Spider anti-large. Speaking of anti-large, it's caught up in this engagement. I managed to thin out most of the support here. Goldbag's going to move on with Pigback Riders, try and overrun here and shut down more units, where we just leave Bragg to kind of handle the large stuff. He's got a little bit of support, not too much, but also bring THUNDERTUSK up to the lines at this time to try and get some tear routes going across the field. Yeah, absolutely huge, monstrous unit. And quite strong. Someone did recently point out that this guy on top uses his crossbow to make shooting attacks, which I believe he does, in addition to the artillery attack. So in many ways, it's just absolutely better than the, Stonehorn. Almost forgot its name. That's how unimpactful it is. Yeah, here the Goblin Bolt Thrower Regiment are now getting shut down by the Blood Vultures. They've been able to mostly just kind of run around here, and since they count as infantry size, they're doing a nice job in trading against various units. But yeah, look at this. Just check check out this. I'm healing these gold bags man-eaters. The meat feast here is giving them a substantial amount of HP and vigor refresh. But watch as those squigs detonate how much damage they're going to take. And keep in mind, this is monstrous infantry, who are the hardest unit type to damage with area of effects. Yeah, I mean, it's a massive amount of damage. Basically, all those squig units are going to pay for themselves, even though they're fighting, again, units they're very much not designed to. I think that's part of the problem why they've been banned. Yeah, I mean, cavalry units, infantry units especially, just get one-shotted pretty much by them when they die. So, you know, you send your expensive elite halberds or elite cavalry to go kill them, thinking, oh, this is a counter, when in fact you just lose, and that 1,000-point squig gets back like 1,500 value. Which is problematic, to say the least. So I'd expect that explosion damage to get tuned down, and once that's done, I mean, they'll still be strong. I'd imagine they might get a few more changes. We'll see. Bragg uses his pistol there to just cap that Night Goblin War Boss, then going to move into melee. Most of my support units have been shut down, but we still got this Trapper online here, loosing some daggers, trying to get some range damage in. One Mangler Squig had been forgotten on that flank there, now going to get activated. Try and move in and finish off the last of these Pigback Riders, who have been feasting. Their high charge bonus means they can trade pretty well into these Orc Boy Spears, Goblin Spears, and whatnot. Yeah, the fermented fungi being used here on the Thundertusk. Keep it locked in combat so it can't cycle charge Skarsnik. Of course, his own anti-large has probably been paying dividends. Only 500 value, maybe not as much as I thought. But for the time being, he still definitely has plenty of spear support. He's got the spider nearby. He's got the troll on station. So we'll watch Bragg a little bit as he tries to wrangle the spider here. Spider just kind of demurely getting popped in the face here as the Thundertusk rages in the background. Oh, there's a troll going through the river. Wow. Just returned to whence she came. And she gets punted by the Thundertusk. Yeah, we're going to throw a little Brain Gobbler there on Skarsnik, see if we can't force a terror out on him. Actually been really loving Brain Gobbler since I've been fighting a bunch of this specific matchup. It's definitely a spell. He's not the caster over here. Yeah, just the heal and Brain Gobbler pretty much for that extra minus leadership. And extra ingredients, of course, for extra winds of magic. A few good hits on the Flinger, and it's pretty much done for. A good thing, too. Bragg the Huntsman is also getting pretty low, but the River Troll Hag quickly gets terrified away here once her support evaporates. Skarsnik, anti-large. Goldbag, anti-infantry. So the two kind of designed to counter each other, but given the situation, how the battle played out, Goldbag's definitely getting the better of that engagement. And going to be absolutely brutalizing Skarsnik. Turns around, has the Night Goblin Big Boss here. He's got some Squig summons off, no doubt. He didn't catch them. But he did get them off, and they did some damage, no doubt. But still, at this point, army loss is going to kick in, and it'll be victory. I mean, he did have the one more Mangler, I guess, but rather than play it out with just those Manglers, even though they probably could have killed a bunch more stuff, decided to end it. Giamma honorably doing so, and definitely a fun one. For sure. It's a matchup again. I've got another replay for, so be sure to stay tuned for that. As for this one in particular, yeah, the Pigback Riders actually didn't get as much value in this replay as I thought. I must have been confusing it with another battle I'd fought recently. I do have quite a few with them doing quite well, but here it was more Goldbag's Man-Eaters. The one Trapper managed to get some pretty clutch value kind of firing in. The Thundertusk was pretty clutch as well. I did dump some healing into it. And just using it sort of hanging back at first and then charging in, you know, after, after the lines is sort of engaged, utilizing that artillery and slow a little bit in the early phase to try and get good engagements and bringing it in for some big bunker-busting terror routes. Definitely worked out quite well for me. For Giamma here, yeah, Skarsnik kind of struggled more than I thought he would, to be honest. I don't know if he was getting staggered a lot, to be honest, but Orc Boy Spear is definitely a solid choice in this matchup. Yeah, even with the Manglers fighting, again, targets they're really not intended to, they still basically all pay for themselves, right? I mean, this one didn't quite, but it didn't also get to use its full value of its explosions because it didn't die. But, yeah, the Flinger is definitely very solid. I mean, Arachnarok Spiders, just in general right now, are great when used in the appropriate kind of anti-large role. The Flinger having that nice artillery attack definitely adds a nice extra added element that it can sort of generate value in the earlier stages of the battle, maybe help with positioning a little bit as well. Definitely like that. The bolt throwers, I don't know, they seem not crazy powerful. I mean, granted, we've been fighting against a lot of factions that have the tools to shut them down pretty easily, between Furies and now Blood Vultures, other things like that. Those flying attack units, Greenskins, do have a hard time shutting down sometimes, and you can often get through to their artillery and try and shut them down very quickly. So, tricky to use in practice. I don't know, their damage isn't super insane, like they're not going to absolutely melt everything, but definitely a nice option to have, even just tactically in some matchups to apply some extra pressure. But definitely an interesting one. Speaking of interesting, I've got another replay to show you in this matchup where I'm going to flip sides and flip opponents. Let's check it out. Alright, now here I am as the Greenskins, and rather than take Skarsnik, I've taken the other anti-large Goblin Lord, specifically Goblin Great Shaman up on the Spider. Mostly so that we could go dual Spider here. I was so impressed with the Flinger in that last replay. I am up against Tactical Lich this time, who is now playing the Ogres, and let's take a look here at my build. Again, Goblin Great Shaman up on the Spider. I've got a Flinger Spider. I've also got a couple of Black Orcs shields. I haven't really talked too much about them. Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed. Maybe we didn't get more weapon variants for Black Orcs. Crimson Kill has also got a rework. I'll probably make a dedicated video about them. But they definitely seem to be a pretty solid unit overall. Nice option to have for the Green Tide when you need maybe something a little bit more sturdy that can stand up and take some punishment. Definitely was looking for that to have a solid kind of backbone. They're the only one in this build. The rest is all Orc Boy Spears and Goblin Spears. We've got a couple of Orc Boar Boy Biggins as well for some mobile anti-large, Goblin Big Boss for the Squig Summons, and Snagla, of course. You know, we're trying to stress test things a little bit, so I've got both summons for 5 extra units, plus the Spiderweb Snare here, and the Sting of Snagla. So, I mean, honestly, Snagla's kit is insanely cracked, and I wouldn't be surprised if some or all of it, I wouldn't say all of it, some of it might get modified out by CA. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some maybe tournament rules restrictions around bringing him plus the other summons. Maybe, we'll see. Or maybe just look for the summon number to get reduced, like 2 Spiderlings instead of 3, maybe 1 Squig instead of 2 for the Night Goblin Big Boss. Anyway, yeah, I've also got the Bolt Thrower here. Did I mention that? Let's look at the Ogres build. Tactical Lich coming in with Slaughtermaster of the Great Maw. He's got some Bulls, got a couple of Man-Eaters, great weapons. Also the Thundertusk once more, some Pigback Riders, a Saber-Tusk pack. And that's pretty much it. Interesting. Definitely interesting. Personally, given sort of the benefits of the Vultures against certain factions, the fact that they're flying can kind of bypass the big ground scrum in certain matchups. This is a great example, right? Greenskins lacking any flying units, really. I mean, they got a couple of flying single entities that aren't very good. Really don't have an effective counter for the Blood Vultures other than to countercharge them on the ground. Maybe mirror with their own light cavalry, who probably aren't going to actually beat the Blood Vultures in melee. Yeah, I mean, the Saber-Tusks have been a staple for a long time, but I think the Blood Vultures just fulfill a similar role, and they're flying and just a little bit better for basically the same cost. But anyway, we're going to get a big melee engagement going here. Squig Summons charging in the flanks, straight into the Noblars. And you see the Bulls starting to countercharge in, especially in the center. Goblin Great Shaman's going to get in. We're going to use the net on the Thundertusk as he was chasing after Snagla there. Snagla wants no part of that unfavorable engagement, so he's going to nope out of that. Send in the Black Orcs, allow the Goblin Bolt Throwers to unload some ammo here. I'm just kind of hanging back with the Boar Boy Biggins for now in a defensive position, bringing up the Flinger to also maybe try and fight the Thundertusk in melee. Let's see here. Nice line fight. More Man-Eater Great Weapons moving in for the anti-large. Man-Eater Great Weapons, decent unit overall. I do think Crushers and Mournfang Great Weapons, to be honest, are overall just better. They offer a lot more upside than the Man-Eaters. Great Weapons, but nice to see them brought here. Wah being popped. They are taking some damage in this engagement, but my own infantry are as well. No surprises there. Orc Boys, Goblin Spears, all getting absolutely blasted. But here I did want to highlight the Thundertusk overextends to try and get on the Bolt Thrower, and it does manage to shut it down. But you see I've got the Spider, I've got the Boars. Ogres are going to dump some healing here, but it's not enough to stave off the leadership route. Thundertusk getting broken here, and Snagla can detach try and chase it off. Let's see if I'm able to do so. There's Itchy Nuisance. I didn't talk too much about it, but the lore of Little and Big Wasp spells have had a visual rework, as other spells have in the past. Yeah, basically with this one, I was just spamming that Itchy Nuisance to reduce the melee attack and weapon strength of all of these units, especially when comboed with the poison. You can really get some nasty weapon strength debuffing potential. Only a debuffs base weapon strength, kind of odd to be honest, but that's fine. Also got Don't Even Try It, Sneaky Stabbing of course, trying to get things going. Slaughtermaster here is about to be in a real bad situation as he gets double teamed by spiders. Another wall being popped here as a bunch of my infantry units run into the hills. And Snagla also chasing the Thundertusk. I don't know, the Thundertusk, it's possible could come back from out there. But let's see. Here, another Squig summon. And it does look like the Thundertusk comes back right there. Snagla going to continue pursuing, honestly. Tactical Lich could just turn around and probably just smash Snagla in the face, but fortunately for him, the Slaughtermaster also getting smashed by spiders, double spider. It's definitely a build I've used in the past. It's been a while. It should be noted that the unit caps for Arachnarok spiders do include flingers, so it's not like you can take 2 flingers and a regular Arachnarok spider, right? The Goblin Great Shaman Mount, the regular Arachnarok, the ROR, Flinger, all have the same unit cap of 2. So you can't go too crazy with that. But yeah, Thundertusk manages to make it back to some Maneater support. Snagla here facing quite a bit of anti-large and just nasty armor piercing. Ooh, even the Sabertusk's getting back in there. He's going to tear Rout away, take some massive hits. So even though the Ogres are teetering on the edge of army losses right now, definitely scrapping back to a degree. Unfortunately, army losses are looming and going to kick in. I don't know. I feel like army losses have been a little bit aggressive lately, but it is what it is. Able to flip that matchup and use the spiders to good effect here. Both the Flinger and the Shaman getting some really nice value in melee. Of course, Orc Boy Spears, just a no-brainer in this matchup. And Goblin Spears as well, fairly cost-effective. Yeah, the Bolt Thrower also, again, not too cheap to include one in your build here, just to help kind of give you that tactical push, sort of draw your opponent potentially into unfavorable engagements like Tactical Lich, obviously a very good player. Still prone to overextending, as are we all. Definitely happens to me. But the Thundertusk, yeah, just getting a little bit excited in that back line there, facing multiple units. Snagla is definitely too much. I mean, I would expect his base price probably to get increased, even though his stats may not necessarily warrant it. They're pretty good. It's not incredible, but just his ability kit is so competitive. I would definitely expect him to get some kind of cost increase in the future. As it is right now, though, you would definitely include him in all your builds. This guy, too, the Squig Summoner, I mean, here I don't think he actually paid back. Even with the Squig Summons, probably enough to justify his expense. There are other matchups where he'll be better, where the Squigs actually will do more here. And obviously, like I said in the last section of this video, you know, the Ogres being a monstrous infantry faction aren't really the go-to, again, for anti-infantry specific units, right? But nonetheless, still nice to have lots more bodies on the field. For Tactical Lich here, yeah, definitely the Pigback Riders, again, another sort of lackluster performance. One just about pays for itself, but they're one of those units that definitely can, like, almost carry the game in some instances. Definitely can be very good, but, you know, they're not too OP, which is definitely a good sweet spot, I think, for units to be in. Useful if used right, but not insanely OP. And I think most units in this DLC are. The only really ones that stand out right now are the Manglers. Yeah, the Khorne Skull Cannon we'll take a look at in a future video. Just be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that. That one's probably a little bit OP. Blood Vulture's probably a little bit too cheap. But overall, I think the balance of the DLC, there's some stuff that's really good. There's still some stuff that's kind of meh. But overall, I would say, taken as a whole, it's pretty decent. Yeah, you guys will have to know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below based on the videos you've seen. I know Turin's been doing a bunch of multiplayer streams, plenty of other multiplayer videos coming out now as well from various content creators, so be sure to check those out. Be sure to stay tuned here as well for more. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Oh no, wait, unit comparisons. Do we need to do it?